again. So final video review for this week is for my paperback read, which was On the Run by Charlotte Greene. For any of you that didn't see the introduction video, here's a quick look at what the book looks like, and you can still catch that. It's on my YouTube or on my blog, so you can watch that as well. If you want to check out my review, I did just post that. So if you're on YouTube, there's a link in the description below, and if you're on Facebook or on my blog, then there's a link within the post. And this is the video review. So On the Run by Charlotte Greene was so epic. Oh my god, I love this. So Gwen picks up this woman she finds wandering at the side of the road in the middle of nowhere, and she's just unprepared for how her life is about to change. So Annie, who is the woman that Gwen picks up, has freshly escaped from prison. She's been let down by the people she thought were on her side, who were all part of it, and when Gwen learns this truth about Annie, she just can't walk away. She kind of ends up more invested than she thought she was going to be in helping Annie, and it's a lot more than just offering a stranded stranger a ride in the end. But together they kind of uncover the truth about Annie's connections, and whilst they're on the run from the police and also these people who try and hurt them, they have to work together to just either get justice or keep on running. That's the decision they've got to make. Like, what are they going to do? So, like I say, this was just so amazing, so epic. It was quite the adventure, a real thrill, packed with mystery, romance, and a ton of action. And I have to say, it was very different from the previous book that I read by Charlotte, which was like horror and stuff. And I was like, oh, and I didn't know what to expect from this. I didn't know, but I think I can safely say that Charlotte Greene does mystery and thrill and action really well. So it was simple in its story. Like, it was simple. Girl picks up girl at the side of the road, gets embroiled in terrible things, you know, falls in love. Typical action thriller type of thing. But it had a really complex story in terms of the surrounding elements that drove the plot, like everything from Annie to Gwen, from their pasts, from what brought them together and what had happened and everything. Just that complexity added like another level to the story. So it took the simple story and just made it epic. Everything had its place, but it still took unexpected turns, and that's what added to the mystery for me. There was so many intense moments where I was like genuinely worried for both of them, and then there were these more intimate moments between Annie and Gwen, and they had me a bit more emotional and helped me connect to them both and understand their situation, their circumstances, and what was going on, sort of the bigger picture. So I really enjoyed the relationship between Gwen and Annie. It was quite unique, and obviously when it was revealed who Annie was, I was kind of worried that her character might change, because when she first encounters Gwen, obviously she's a very different person. She's concerned about getting away, and she doesn't know Gwen. She doesn't want to get stuck with her either. It's kind of obvious, and I was kind of worried that once Gwen knew the truth, Annie was going to turn into like this really awful person. And I was like, oh, please don't turn into an awful person. I really wanted her to be a goodie, not a baddie. And she had a lot that she had to work through, so she had to act tough and in charge, but all that vulnerability lingered with Annie, and it was just under the surface, and it was so obvious that she needed help and support, which Gwen was the perfect person to offer her, because she just complemented her perfectly, and she was really strong, she was really hardworking, and she was really clever. She had a lot of connections that were going to help Annie, and they were going to help her, and there was something in it for her. Obviously she wasn't going to do it for nothing, but obviously falling in love with Annie helped. So like Annie, Gwen wasn't without vulnerability. It surfaced from time to time, and you saw it, and that mostly came from the fact that her emotions started to fuel her need to help Annie. She was definitely falling for Annie, and therefore she was perhaps acting a little out of character because of her feelings, and that happens to everyone, and it was so realistic in that respect. But Gwen was just better at hiding her vulnerabilities, so you knew they were there and you could very intimately sort of sense them, but they weren't always on display, whereas Annie's from time to time were very much on display. And Gwen, if they weren't on display to the people around them, they were definitely on display to Gwen, and she could figure it out. So when they were working out what to do and Annie finally trusted Gwen, that's when, you know, you really started to learn who she was, what she was doing, and the bigger reasons for doing so. So you really then felt for her, but you felt for Gwen as well. Being roped into something like this, it's a dilemma that you wouldn't want to be in. You wouldn't want to have to make this decision, and Gwen had to. Really, she had to, and I think she made the right one. But there was no way she could abandon Annie once she knew all that. And even if she had plenty of opportunities to do so, she just wasn't going to, because she could have outsmarted Annie at any point, but there was no point. Once she knew everything, she understood, like you did as the reader, you understood the bigger picture, and suddenly you were like rooting for them both, and you really wanted them to succeed in what they were trying to achieve. So I think the loveliest yet somewhat heartbreaking thing about this story was just how emotion made Gwen vulnerable, because she was just such a strong character, and she made a few decisions from time to time that I was thinking, oh my god, and you could tell it was emotional driven, and it wasn't what she would normally do. Like, she let her guard down a little bit, and obviously that had to happen to drive the plot forward, but you just knew she was going to get herself into some situations because of her feelings. And her love for Annie, it just really tested her loyalty, and it also tested, I think, what you're willing to do for someone. So it tested how far and just how much Gwen was willing to do for her, no matter what the consequence was for her and the effects it might have. So that dedication sort of made me really adore Gwen. She took a chance on someone she didn't know. She took a chance on a stranger, and she helped her. And Annie and Gwen, in that respect, then, they to me represent a form of true love. I mean, when you take a chance on someone who you don't know, and you do something that you would normally question and you are sort of questioning, but you sort of know it's the right thing as well, that's a form of, just being really selfless. And they were practically strangers, but they totally embraced trust, and they fell in love with one another, whilst trying to help the other out of a misunderstanding, basically a really unfortunate situation. And I think it changed both the circumstances, but for a way, in a way they deserved, and also a way they didn't deserve, because Annie never really should have been in the position she was in. So unfortunately, all those misunderstandings and everything landed her where she was. But then those circumstances led to particularly good ones that benefited both Gwen and Annie. So everything in its place, I guess, is the moral. But it was an absolutely great story, and I really hope Charlotte will continue to write more for this genre in the future, because I think she's got the talent for action, adventure, and just epic stories. This would make like a great film. It had in a way, it had like a Thelma and Louise feel, so I was like really happy about it. But it was totally different, but it was so like it, and I loved it in that respect. Like the whole, running from the law thing. Loved it. So good. So I'll pop a link in the description so you can go and grab a copy of On the Run by Charlotte Greene, which I hope you will. If you've read On the Run, I would love to hear your thoughts, so please comment below. Please let me know what you thought of the story, and if you haven't read it yet but it's on your to be read list, you're planning to read it, or you're now really intrigued and thinking, I got to read that book, again, comment below, because it's always great to hear what you're reading. And if you do read it, I really hope you enjoy it. Bye.